Welcome back. We're finally back with Rational Discourse Weekly. I'm William Garrison.
And I'm Michael Aune.
This is episode 38, filmed on January 21st, 2015. Remember to write those fives down. This week, we talked about a variety of things, including the Charlie Hebdo.
We don't speak French. We probably slaughtered that. We're sorry. Charlie Hebdo attacks. We talked about the Pope, because he comes up from time to time. Apparently, a lot of people think he's important.
Rick Santorum makes a surprise appeance.
I badmouthed Glenn Beck at least once.
If you want to find out more about him, Google Santorum.
Yes, please. So anyway, stay tuned. Lots on this one. It's a little bit longer than usual, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. So,
welcome back. It's been a while. I think I checked earlier today, but I think it's been July.
We went on a summer break, and then it never ended. And sadly, I think we'd actually been on a spring break that occurred before that. So, yeah, it's been some life transitions. This is the same excuse we gave last time, to be frank. Him more so than me. He's been like moving, and
unfortunately, where I live now doesn't have a good filming location. We found some temporary space, and by temporary, it may be good for a year, maybe good for a month. We'll have to find out. But anyways, these are some...
So if you see us on the side of the streets with our hands outstretched, homeless atheist, please provide funds for filming location. That's why we lost our spot.
So anyways, a good friend of mine has given us this area to film in weekly now, so we're back with Rational Discourse Weekly.
You know who you are. Thank you.
Thank you. And
we should shoot this in 3D, so like when I point at the camera, it's like
3D, 4D, 3D, 40 IMAX. Those cameras must be cheap, right? GoPro.
Yeah. We should start filming this in Dolby Atmos too, a little 7.2.4.
Each of us could have GoPro cameras attached to our heads, so you could see the articles we're reading as we're discussing them.
Well, wait, there's a lot of hardcore pornography on this screen.
Yeah, just maybe you have to. You'd have to point at certain tabs and not at others.
Just
do the non-look away, look away.
There's a reason my computer's on mute, if you know what I'm saying. Actually, let me check the phone here.
Yep, phone, computer.
See, we're out of sync here. We haven't done this in a minute. None. I don't need any. And for 1 hour, yes, thank you. I got the new Nexus 6. Love it. Billy's behind. Normally, he's right there. Billy.
Yeah.
I called you Billy. I haven't done that forever. It's William.
My girlfriend and I are looking at buying a house, so I've been trying to save money until that is acquired. So we'll see what happens.
So,
anyways, lots happened since July of 2014.
The world's gone to shit.
Or
the world just was shit.
It's been fun. Gas prices are down.
I like that.
Another snowpocalypse hasn't occurred yet.
Well, I actually am sad about that. Hopefully it was still time. 2 months. Yeah. We got 2 months left. Some more cartoons caused a bunch of crap in the world, which, I mean, you all know what happened there, which is absurd. We'll come back to that. We've already talked on like blasphemy laws and free speech, but it probably bears commenting on because it's stupid to the utmost. It's childish and offensive.
Actually, first I wanted to mention
You know what's offensive? Murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not poorly drawn cartoons. They're really not that good. Sorry. But.
Yeah, one's something, you look at someone angrily for. The other one, people go to jail for life. So that's the punishment should fit the crime.
Or killed. It depends. We're about to kill someone in Georgia for murder. So I mean.
Yeah.
In any case, again, we'll come back to it.
The first thing I want to talk about is the kid that claimed when he was younger, he was 6, if I remember correctly at the time. Tyndale House. Oh wait, no, that was the publisher. Alex Malarkey, which is his real last name, by the way, Malarkey.
Sometimes the world is a beautiful place. It's times like that when his name is Malarkey.
The stars align, not by supernatural guidance.
I would show you that it's Malarkey, but you can't see from there. But there it is, right there, Malarkey.
When he was 6 years old, he was in a really bad car accident that put him in a coma. And he claimed back then that he went to heaven. his experience that he detailed ended up being a book. The way the article reads is basically it was his dad's idea that he took the story and pitched it to publishers, and it became very popular.
He was 6, so we're not in any way trying to pass judgment on a 6-year-old. I think he's only what now? Like
13.
13? Yeah. He's not. This kid is not old enough to have done anything wrong. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But his parents seemed extremely willing to push this as an expression of faith, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there was anything malicious in it, but still.
It's
the practice is worrisome.
The fact that the story was told as a factual account became a book. It's a support mechanism that religious people use to say, well, I have my faith already. My faith is strong, but here I have evidence. The evidence being that someone else.
The very people who claim not to care about evidence are the very ones who also will immediately jump on anything that purports to support their position.
It's obvious that they actively seek it.
Well, I'm not crazy if everyone's crazy, right?
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I want to know that like I hold the right opinion, and the more people who hold that opinion, the easier it is to hold it. So yeah, it's easy to make fun of creationists when like 99.9%, let me this way, probably 100% of actual scientists laugh at it. They go, that person's dumb. But if it was like I was the 1%, like Darwin back in the day.
Right.
Hey guys, how about we weren't always here? Like we evolved from monkeys. People were like, what are you talking about, man? Are you high? Like that was actually an uphill battle for years and years and years. So it's easy now for us. Yeah. We have a fairly well-rounded, like secular worldview that's backed by empirical evidence of hundreds of years of scientific inquiry. So it's easy for us to sort of point at these things and laugh.
Yeah.
Because we've got people on our side, people who actually know what they're talking about. So, of course, these people who are religious want that same reassurance. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment on wanting to feel...
Because we're all human, regardless of belief systems.
Yeah.
There's something deep inside of us that wants to find out the reason behind things. We like to reason. You can see it in children when you tell them you have to go to bed, and they're like, "Why?"
Because I said so.
Because it's late. Why?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I will be severely disappointed if my child is not a little why machine. But at the same time, I'll want to probably like throw him in a closet just to make him stop talking for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I won't do that, and I don't have children, so please don't call like defects on me.
So, anyways, this book, basically the kid came out and said, I made it all up. We profited from the stories that I told. I apologize. And it turns out he's extremely religious. The quote, he was saying that, and I'm paraphrasing, that you can't believe things written by man, that he had not read the Bible when he made those claims, and that none of what he mentioned, was backed up by the Bible, and that you can only believe the Bible because it was not written by man.
Well, yeah, to quote him here, he's apparently still injured, or he still suffers from the injuries from this car crash. So he says, "Please forgive the brevity. Because of my limitations, I have to keep this short. I said I went to heaven because I thought it would give me attention. When I made the claims that I did, I had never read the Bible. People have profited from lies and continue to. They should read the Bible, which is enough. The Bible is the only source of truth. Anything written by man cannot be infallible." So what's weird is we're sort of happy that this kid did this, even though I think his impetus for doing so is still misguided. But at least he had the sack to come out and go, hey, I might be 13 and like crippled, but hey, still know that this is not right. And regardless of his reasoning, kudos for that, because like you just created a shitstorm for yourself, whether you are 13 or 6 or 20. No one wants to be in the middle of that. So I give him props for at least doing the right thing and coming clean. Would have been nice, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, whenever this came out.
Yeah, I'm glad that there was this string of Heaven is Real stories. There were movies, like...
I think one of them was Heaven is Real.
Yeah, and because it says heaven is not real, but then they marked out the not.
Yeah, which, why are we listening to, like, 4 and 6-year-olds? Not to, like, say that they can't bring value to a person's life, but I think scientific knowledge is not one of the things.
Well, and a lot of
or
kids
true
at that
empirical
age,
knowledge, or even existential or experiential knowledge. You haven't experienced crap. You're 4.
they have imaginary friends sometimes,
Yeah.
including Jesus.
And some people don't grow out of that. Some people don't. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't. It's cool, man. You can let go.
So we just thought that was interesting, that we don't want people to confuse faith and evidence, and using stories like this to sort of back up the thought that you believe in a heaven and think that that's where you go after you die. It's
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know. First of all, it sounds exhausting. Eternity is a long-ass time, is what I've heard. It's like forever.
I work for 8 hours. I'm done sometimes.
Yeah, like, people are like, oh, you get to be alive forever with the people you love. And I'm like, I would murder all of them. And they'd have to go to second heaven because, like, 80 years is enough.
Did you hear Louis C.K.'s joke he did during the montage on Saturday Night Live?
Mm-mm.
He says, I don't know if there's a God, but I do know there's no way there's a heaven. He's like, what? You die, you go up there, you hang out with him, and you're like, hey, where's heaven? And God's like, I don't know who's saying this. He's like, I had to make you a whole entire universe, and now I got to make this other thing for afterwards. He's like, you just hang out here with me.
This is it. It's
This is
Barca
it.
Loungers and football and beer.
So I thought it was funny.
No, that's good.
A good little bit of comedy to talk about the afterlife.
So imagine the
is always
best party
refreshing.
or family reunion you've ever been to. And now imagine it never ends.
It never changes.
I mean, maybe it does change, right? I don't want to limit heaven to my experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just too much work. Nope. I'm happy to just... Things were very calm before I was born. Extremely calm for me, insofar as there was no me. And I am happy to return to that at some point. That's fine. I'm not saying I want it to be soon. Not saying I want anyone to usher that in before it's time. But I'm cool with that being the end goal, the end game that I'm going to be playing for. That's okay with me.
I would agree.
All right. What else? Pope Francis has said more things. He says a lot of things.
He's been an interesting pope, and we sort of knew that going into this when we did an episode.
I think we called it then. He's the PR pope, right? He makes everyone feel good about the Catholic Church without substantively doing much as far as doctrine. And there's no real doctrinal difference that I've seen between him and Benedict,
Right.
which
Catholics aren't all of a
Benedict
sudden
was like a
wearing...
hardliner in many ways.
Catholics
so,
aren't all of a sudden wearing leather pants. Like nothing's changed. Leather pants and mesh wife beater T-shirts.
I have started doing that. Not on the podcast. I'm keeping it PG, but my personal life. No, what's interesting to me is, so here's this guy, like he's got no good alleyways here, right? Like, he's doing some things within the Vatican as far as reform and stuff that seem good, just as sort of like a CEO coming in and cleaning up the act of the business that he's taken over, which is great. Financial reforms and things of that nature. But as far as the way that, like, the church dictates the policies by which 1.2 billion, I think, people are supposed to live their lives, really haven't seen anything come out. He's made a lot of gestures that have not actually been backed up by changes at the doctrinal level. Nothing is actually about the teachings of the church have changed. So yeah, he says things about, like, it's not my place to judge gays, or I think specifically he said gay priests, but people have, of course, extended that to homosexuals in general. But the church's stance is still that, not that homosexuality is a sin, because that's not what they teach, but still that it's not an acceptable lifestyle. So, like, okay, he said this nice thing, but at the end of the day, all he said is it's not my place to judge, but Jesus will. That's sort of the subtext I got from it. And he said something just a couple days ago about how, like, good Catholics should not. Well, let me get this right. I don't want to.
They not procreate like rabbits.
Yes. Where is it? I had the exact phrase here. Dang it.
TalkingPointsMemo.com. Let's see.
Wait, here we go. Some think, and excuse the term, that to be good Catholics, they must be like rabbits. And he was talking to, I believe, journalist while on a flight between locations. As he does, a lot of his remarks that people have jumped on have been sort of off-the-cuff comments while en route to some other place. And so he says this thing about, like, don't be like rabbits, right? Except if we know anything, it's that people are going to bone down because sex is a lot of fun. Let's face it. It's cheap, it's free, it's real, it's free. Unless you accept the Butters theory, which is, you don't think you're paying for it? You're paying for it. You just don't see how you're paying for it. Butters Bottom Bitch, check it out. South Park, it's amazing. But in any case, so these people, obviously sex is a thing that people do regardless of social taboo, religious doctrine, personal, like, prohibitions. It's such a core drive for people that sex happens all the time. Okay, fine, cool. A lot of secularized societies have found ways to simply incorporate it into their lives and move on. The U.S. less well so than some, but we're still better than most. So he tells these people, don't be like rabbits, even though I know you're going to have sex, because, especially like married couples, there's no reason you shouldn't. And yet, at the same time, you can't use contraceptives because that's against God's will. And yet, don't breed like rabbits. So you're telling me I can do this thing completely okay, which is have sex. There's no problem with it. But you're not going to let me do the thing that will easily and steadily and readily prevent me from being like a rabbit. But, so what am I supposed to do with this information? Like,
just don't do it very often, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll just ration out the sex, like twice a month, honey.
Statistically, you will have fewer babies if you have fewer sex.
So, and like, I guess he's thinking about maybe natural methods, like rhythm methods or pulling out, things of that nature, which have been shown that over the course of a year are basically not any more likely to help you not conceive than just going at it and not worrying about it. So you put people in the situation where, like, you're supposed to be the leader of the church, and by leader you should show us how to lead. Like, you should lead us. You should show us how to live our lives and tell us what to do. And a lot of people, especially like African countries, South American countries, take this prohibition very seriously. And yet you then are like, you should stop having so many babies. That's not cool. But don't use the things that would make you not have so many babies.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's like he says the right thing that, especially a Western audience, I think, wants to hear, without actually doing anything to back it up. So he's like the straight PR pope. He looks good. He says the things that people have been craving the Catholic Church to say, without the Catholic Church actually being committed to it in any significant way.
And is that just because the organization is so big, it's hard for one person, like a figurehead? Is he a powerless figurehead that has no control over major policy?
I think he has some control, but the thing is, the Catholic Church, it's hard to apply pressure there, right? It's an institution that doesn't really care what any one individual thinks. It's just not really how it works. And, like, the Vatican, as an institution, the actual, like, bureaucracy of the Vatican can be very entrenched, and has been. There's a lot of corruption there, which he's fighting against, and other issues. But it means that they're not necessarily open to helping him enact his viewpoints. And then you have review processes and things that basically, through the history of the church, have come up that can help subvert the message of the Pope or water it down. So he said a lot of things that the church itself, the like official church doctrine, has responded to and basically said, we know what he said. Church teaching is still this. And so, yeah, the Pope says it, but the Pope is not, although he's an absolute monarch, he's not totalitarian in the sense that he cannot enact his will freely.
Right.
He can say maybe what he likes or prefers or would have done, but that doesn't mean that that's what happens. And this is not necessarily a judgment against him, though I think that if you can take part in that charade for like 70 years or whatever he's done, that's probably speaks something to your character. at the end of the day, like, even if he's a well-meaning old guy, if he has no power to actually influence the institution over which he rules, I don't care what you have to say all that much. I'm not trying to be a dick, but
it makes it interesting, and the reason why it was interesting recently is people like Rick Santorum, which honestly is a name I did not think I would have heard since, he's kind of been out of the news a lot since...
he's not losing the presidential nomination. Why are we talking about him?
But as a Catholic, he said it was very hard to listen, sometimes very difficult to listen to the Pope, and some of the same things he says off the cuff, and this is one of them. So he was basically saying that he can listen and agree with the official Pope, but the unofficial Pope rantings that he preferred to...
Yeah, I mean, it's we all cherry pick, right? We all... And this is a bias that... It's a cognitive bias that all people suffer from, and you can actively try and mitigate against it, which I think that we try to. We're trying to be open to, but let's face it, like, we want to hear the things that back up our position.
Yeah.
Whether it's with politics, just interpersonal relationships, whether it's something like religion. We like feeling that we're right, and we like hearing the things that support that, which is why Fox News exists, right? It's why let's say MSNBC. CNN exists for reasons I still can't comprehend at this point. Maybe because it's sad and we don't like watching a train wreck. But, like, Fox News exists because conservatives like hearing other conservatives tell them that their conservatism is correct. That you are thinking the right thoughts, fellow soldier. Keep going.
You're the true patriot.
And MSNBC, same thing, right? Oh, it's so those stupid conservatives over there. Good to be liberal, haha.
Yeah.
Bump it, rubbing elbows, haha. Pope, yeah. Okay, fine. But you're not actually helping or changing anything by doing that. You're not being challenged, and you're not going to make any...
That kind of hive mind thought is something that I like to stay away from. And honestly, it's why sites that aggregate people from all walks of life... I hate to continue to use Reddit as an example, but Reddit, certain parts of websites like Reddit are good examples because everyone uses those sites, and you're not necessarily just seeing communication from like-minded people unless you're in an area that only people of a certain mindset are viewing. Facebook, for example, you're only friends and only see posts from people that you choose to associate with. If you
it's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
You hear the same thing over and over and over, and that's all you can hear because of the cacophony of sound of people supporting your position.
So,
which I will say, I got out of that a little bit, and this will come up in future episodes, I'm sure more. But I've been dating a girl since last February, and it's been good, but she is quite religious. And that is not something that I'm willing to hold my tongue on, which has led to some interesting conversations, because she's fantastic. And yet, I really hate this thing that she believes, actively. Like, I try to undermine it a lot. I spend a lot of my time actively basically preaching against what she believes. And even within the last, week or two, we had I'd say it was a heated discussion. It was not an argument. There was no anger there. But she got frustrated because I didn't hold any punches about what I thought about some of the things she said. But it also opened my eyes that I can be an asshole, serious dick sometimes because I say these things to you and you go ha ha, but to someone else it is genuinely upsetting.
Even if I think what you're saying is dumb, I shouldn't make it seem like you're dumb. At the end of the day, you're a smart person that I love behind this dumb idea.
The idea is there and you hold it, but that doesn't...
The problem
I'm not passing judgment on you.
Yeah, when you attack a dumb idea that someone holds closely, it's so close that you can't separate it.
Yeah, and you
end up attacking them, and it's.
I'm defensive when people go on a rant about atheists, right? And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll there. Let's back that train up. Which I think we just had an unintentional segue back to the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
Yeah,
talking about offense and how people react to it. Should probably jump on that while we're actually here.
Yeah, so we briefly mentioned that making fun of someone's belief and murder are not on the same scale.
I'm going to do this, right? Okay, so here's murder. We'll do a bloody knife. A little blood drop. And this equals bad. So murder is bad. I think we can all agree on that. Generally, comics are this isn't representative of actual. This is, and then comics are down here. I don't care what they are. Murder way bad. Comics less bad.
So here's the thing with comics.
And I don't care if they equal Muhammad. Here's his turban.
The conversation comes up in comedy in general. When you talk about stand-up comedy, for example, everyone has their levels. There are certain people like Bill Cosby, who I didn't actually mean to bring him up despite his recent media coverage.
This is not related to date rape.
He was not profane in his stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And there were certain topics he just didn't discuss.
Just in his personal life, apparently.
There were topics that he didn't discuss, but then for some people that line, the things that they're willing to talk about are religion, sex, rape, murder, right?
Just to name one, I'm not
child abuse.
Him out.
There are certain lines that you can cross, and I guess the point I'm saying is, regardless of what line you cross with something like comedy, with speech, with a comic,
with words. Let's be clear: the simple utterance of sound from a human mouth or written words on a page, whether virtual or real, those things can inflict no actual harm on you. No physical detriment to your life.
I would argue that even the worst imaginable comic speech, whatever, doesn't come close to even the most justifiable murder.
I would say it doesn't come close to the most justifiable physical outburst.
Harm, right.
I'm sorry. If you are so offended by this, my little Muhammad, which is terrible. I did that on purpose. This is supposed to be awful. And I mean, like, both as far as just being culturally insensitive as well as a bad illustration. If this makes you lose your mind to the point where you want to kill someone, if you want to hunt me down, that is a fault in you, not me having done this. Don't get me wrong. Is this provocative? Yes, many things are provocative. A woman walking down the street in very scantily, she's being very scantily clad, can be provocative, but that in no way justifies any reaction to that provocation, right? Yeah. Maybe she wants to be provocative in the same way that you look at like the Gay Pride Parade, or any of them. There's not just one, but in many ways you can see that the flamboyance there was a way to be provocative, a sort of in-your-face way of saying, I'm here, and it's okay that I'm here, and I'm going to be here in whatever way I choose. That's fantastic. Awesome. Good for you. The fact that someone would respond to that provocation in a negative way in no way justifies a response beyond turning your shoulder to that person if you don't want to interact with them. If they shout at you, shout back. Whatever. That's free speech. Do your thing. If you want to organize an anti-gay rally in response, I support your ability to do that, because in a society that's open and free, we should be able to have this discourse. And I can choose to ingratiate myself with you or not, and I can choose to back away from you or stop talking to you.
Yeah. You can be as loud as you want. You can do comics that you want. People like Glenn Beck can have websites. But when you enter the physical...
All right, well, maybe we need to revisit this free speech issue if Glenn Beck could have a website.
When you enter the physical and murder realm, for example, that's when you have a problem. But it's the line of harming others. We don't believe in a thing like thought crime and blasphemy laws and outlawing certain types of speech, at least not in this country. And
I mean, so there's just that. And we, of course, have touched on the fact that blasphemy laws are completely absurd. Free speech is sacred. The attack on these people was heinous in France because they drew some, in poor taste comics. I admit that. They weren't funny to me.
Oh, they're awful.
But there's absolutely no way you go from that to death. And the fact that anyone in the world supports that based on a religious system is deeply disturbing to me. Because again, I don't know of any political system that's going to make me want to kill that person because of something they drew. I don't know of any economic system that makes me want to do that. I don't know of any personal moral code that someone would hold, like any philosophical moral code.
Religion shouldn't have a free pass or a...
Yeah, religion, and the thing is, religion is the enabler. Religion gets the free pass because God said so. And so if we're going to talk about this openly, you have to be able to go, wait a minute, this is a problem that does seem uniquely religious in its orientation. And we should confront that fact. Because otherwise, we're never going to have an honest conversation about it. And that's crap. 12 people died because they drew crappy comics on a small French magazine that, like, I think 60,000 was their average circulation or something like that. These people had no clout. I mean, they were a talking point, like Mad Magazine's a talking point. Like, some people read it, and every once in a while there's something in it that you reference in pop culture. That's about it. And the fact that one person would lose their life, let alone 12, and this is including a Muslim officer who was shot, like, these people turned on their own. Makes no sense. There's no way you get from here to here in any reasonable society, in any reasonable moral framework. And the fact that we have to go, well, their moral sensibilities were hurt because they drew a face. Well, you know what? Screw you. I don't care. Be hurt. It's okay to be offended. You have a right to many things. You do not have a right to never be offended by what someone else says. Period. You have a right to your own personal space. You have a right to say what you want to think. And I have a right to offend you by what I say. And you have a right to say, you're an asshole and walk away. Or prove me wrong. Or
if I'm
shout me at,
if
shout
I'm
me down.
harassing you, getting a restraining order. But
yeah, there are many things you can do, and none of which are murder. And the fact that it's become such a common way, I mean, so it's kind of crappy because this is one instance of this. And because it was in a Western country that we're like friends with, it makes these headline news. And yet, Nigeria is getting destroyed by Boko Haram, killing hundreds like every couple of weeks. You get the 130 school children in Pakistan who were taken out because their parents were fighting against the Taliban, which, whether you want to call it or not, that's a proxy war against Islamic extremists. Those are people who want to impose Sharia law, and Pakistan is fighting back against that. So these kids weren't killed specifically for religious reasons, but that war is definitely religiously motivated because one half of the actors are trying to impose religion, their religious ideology on others.
Law. Yeah.
And so, like, as far as atrocities go, on what religion is doing in the world today with ISIS or ISIL or Islamic State, whatever you want to call it, killing educated people, outspoken women, proponents of, like, female education. This attack was a drop in the bucket. And so I think it is wrong to focus on it too much. Now, because it was a fellow Republican state, by Republican I mean the system of government, who holds similar Republican ideals, again, philosophical system of government,
we like.
it was easy for us to go, hey, bro, I feel your pain.
We like that it started the discussion with people that normally don't have this discussion or don't have their ear to the ground about these topics.
Well, it's visible to us the way that, let's face it, brown and black people are not in Western news cycles.
This spread on Twitter or Facebook, like, the average person heard about this, and that's why it was important.
But I don't like that. It's not that, like, it's a small atrocity. It's an atrocity. And if you're just going by the numbers, though, again, it makes up like a fraction of a percent of the people who are killed in the name of religion every day. I'd like to point that probably the number of people killed in the name of atheism over the last year was in the neighborhood of 0. This many.
Maybe 1, so don't send us a news article.
If you find one, feel free to send it our way. I will still put it against the number, and I will still come out on top of this argument. But yeah, I think the point is that, like, we have to be willing to stand up for these beliefs and not let bullies try and silence us with violence. And we should be willing to call the violence for what it is, which is completely unacceptable. No one should defend it if they have any moral decency. and I have no problem saying that. If you think that this was in any way a justified response to a comic, or to a blasphemous word said against Jesus, or to me defacing an image of Moses, whatever it is, or I don't know, teabagging the Buddha, whatever, doesn't matter. If you think that the response of any action of that type justifies murder, then you are the one who is in the wrong. And that's as simple as it is. I don't really feel the need to justify it.
I would agree. Yeah.
Fine. We'll end on that completely unfounded statement, I guess. I don't feel bad about that. I'm okay with it.
Well, thanks for joining us. This year should be a pretty big year from us. Again, hopefully I should have a house. If I do get a house this year, we might start filming out of that.
Either way, we both miss it a lot,
Yeah.
personally. We talk about it a lot, and we see each other regularly still. And it's something we both still care about. I don't know if anyone else even cares that we're back. Hey, if you're watching us.
But maybe we'll pick up some new listeners.
Yeah, spread the word.
We'll pick up some new listeners, maybe regain some old ones.
Tell you what, if this reaches over 1,000 views, I'll take my shirt off. I mean, it won't matter. Like, I'm not going to take it off on camera. I just said I'll take my shirt off.
Right.
So let's just be clear.
He'll be sweating in his...
Somewhere you can envision all of this.
He'll be sweating in his room, and he'll need to take it off.
I might still have my undershirt on. I'm not sold on that exactly. But in any case, yeah, questions, comments, concerns, of course, you can contact us via the website or hit us up in the comments on YouTube. This is available on iTunes yet?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. He does all that.
It's on Stitcher and TuneIn, which are also podcast repositories that are...
Wait, we're on TuneIn?
Yeah.
But I use TuneIn. I can listen to me?
That have decent sizes on...
Fancy. What would you
on
search on TuneIn to find that?
Rational Discourse Weekly.
Okay.
Or 37G, because, you have to have, like, a provider name.
Yeah.
And
the same would be true for iTunes.
Yep.
Or Stitcher.
Yep.
Or YouTube.
Correct.
Or the web.
I think
you could probably
that's all
search
of
in
them.
Google.
Correct.
Doot. Welcome to our website. Cool.
Anyways, thanks
that's
for
enough
watching,
plugging.
listening.
Yeah, we'll see you hopefully next week.
See you.